Us for this webinar. I'm very happy to be talking to you guys about our Advanced Data Science Certificate Program. If you can move to the next slide, please.
Mm-hmm.
Is really to provide a opportunity for working professionals to get material that might otherwise only be available in an academic context. And so one thing that I'm conscious of as a professional data scientist, is that the technical environment is constantly changing. Right? There's new network architectures, there's new algorithms, there's new tools, and to be a professional in the tech space, you have to be constantly learning. And I think that all of us do this in a variety of ways, but unfortunately, so far there's been nothing from an institution like Georgetown that I've seen that could help me keep abreast of changes in the technical environment and to equip myself with new tools and new skills. And so if we look at this in terms of a career path, we think that the Advanced Data Science Certificate sits in a very unique place. If we can move to the next slide. Certainly a unique place in the certificate landscape. And so we have this view that as you're pursuing continuous education and continuous learning in your careers, that you move through sort of novice and junior stages, which I think that most people are familiar with when it comes to continuing education. When you're a novice, you're focused on acquiring skills, right? Programming skills, computational skills, analytical skills. And then as you start to build your career earlier in your career phase, as you move into that sort of junior professional category, you're looking more to build a career path and a distinct career narrative, perhaps. And so the focus switches over from sort of distinct technical skills to workflow, to methods and case studies, to presentation skills and communication skills. And so that sort of slight switch happens. But then as you move from that junior, where you start to establish that career path and you move back into a more advanced technical expertise area, then, and you're sort of a working professional, actually the focus shifts back to skills again, where you want to acquire really deep subject expertise. You want to innovate and explore new things that are coming out of academia, new technologies, new programming languages. And then also, I think it's essential is to meet new people and to connect with the people who are building those tools and be able to communicate with them. And then, of course, from there, as you move into senior roles, then once again, this paradigm flips into consideration more about leadership, both in terms of thought leadership, management and team leadership, or even just entrepreneurship. So when you look at the certificates that exist, we actually have the sort of front end of the career path and the back end of the career path pretty well established at Georgetown University. In terms of the skill-based courses and at the novice level, we have our pre-certificate courses that teach you Python, SQL, R, and sort of tools like that. And then we really consider our data science certificate program more on the junior side of things. The data science certificate is a intensive, cohesive program that's cohort driven, that goes from software engineering and working on a software engineering team through databases and statistics analytics, applied machine learning, visual analytics, visual diagnostics, and then it combines that into one complete package. And that's that sort of cohesive narrative, I think, that you need when you're just starting on a data science career. And so, that is, a very important thing to do for a data science career, is to have that sort of cohesive understanding. But when you move into the sort of professional side and you need to pick up specialized topics, you want to do it in a way that's not, an intensive cohort-driven process. You want to make sure that the topics that you're learning are applicable to the work that you're doing, and that you can target, what types of tools are necessary to do your job effectively and what types of things will progress your career. And so that's really where we feel that the advanced data science certificate comes in. And so we think about things in terms of very specific topics and workshops, seminars and symposiums that give you that sort of networking ability. And then really the goal for the advanced data science certificate is to think about what's happening in academia and sort of the research world, and how can we transfer that to the professional community, and to people who are doing this sort of day-to-day stuff in a more pragmatic form. And then, of course, Georgetown, the School of Continuing Studies, is also well known for its technology leadership. So if you progress past the professional space, then of course there's coaching and engaging and developing teams and a whole technology leadership program that you can go through as well. So I think that this, gives a sort of clear perspective on who the audience is for each of these certificates. And this slide is here because I think this is probably the #1 question that I'll be asked, right? Which certificate should I take? I hope that if you're at a mid-level or junior place, or if you're shifting a career path, I hope that you will strongly consider the data science certificate as a way to start the career down that sort of professional data scientist role. But the advanced data science certificate is for people who are currently data science practitioners. If that's how you identify yourself, if you have those software and analytical skills and machine learning skills, and you want to engage in the cutting edge or grow your leadership or grow your network, really that's where the advanced data science certificate comes in. And they really do tie in well together. Everything that you would learn in the data science certificate prepares you for the advanced data science certificate, but there are some obvious omissions in the data science certificate that we do just to make sure that while it's intensive, it's not overloading. So for example, we skip distributed systems or parallel computing in the data science certificate because that's just too much to handle when you're learning everything else. But distributed systems and parallel computing, using Spark, using TensorFlow, that is exactly the kind of topic that we would like to discuss in the advanced data science certificate. In the data science certificate, we try to discuss as many different models and algorithms as possible. And so we omit deep learning architectures in favor of broad coverage of instance-based methods, support vector machine methods, different types of clustering methods, because we want to have as sort of wide a coverage as possible. In the advanced data science certificate, it's a more narrow scope, right? We dive deep into different deep learning architectures, convolutional neural networks, LSTMs, and for specific applications, such as machine translation, image generation, image classification, and sort of really engage with the tools in a more meaningful way. And so that presents, I think, a lot more opportunity for you to guide your learning path in a way that sort of cohort-driven based program does not. So the advanced data science certificate has 4 focus areas. And I feel very strongly that these focus areas are all equally critical to a professional data scientist toolkit. And the learning opportunities that exist in all of these areas, they often combine, they often intersect, are incredibly important. And so when we start talking about the types of classes that are available, they will fall into one or more of these different areas. And so I can briefly describe them here. Data engineering, in order to work with data science and data as data scientists and work with data at the scale that we might want to, we have to develop software and use software tools like databases. And so data engineering focuses on those types of topics. The visual analytics portion focuses on that sort of human-computer interaction and how we can best understand data through visualization and diagnose problems that we might be having in our modeling. The data science and machine learning category is sort of a broad category that covers the deep statistical work and algorithms and different types of distributed machine learning that we might engage in our practice, hyperparameter tuning and how we can be more effective at those tools. And then finally, I think what's critical, especially if you're in the professional category of the career path, is we have to think about the ethics and sort of leadership and consequences of the tools and products that we build, and what kinds of effects those might have, and how we sort of understand and interpret those effects in the context of a mathematical domain, in the context of an engineering domain. And I think that's also a critical part of the discussion. So we're going to look at some of the sort of core objectives, I guess, of the Advanced Data Science Certificate. And I hope you'll see that these core objectives are designed to take something that's flexible, and I'll talk a little bit more about the course structure in a second, but really produce a sort of cohesive whole that we believe will give the certificate a lot of meaning when you represent yourself to potential employers or to your current employer. What does the certificate give you in terms of this sort of broad thought or sort of enrichment attitude? So on the ethics side, we feel that it is important for data scientists in particular, out of most technical careers, to adopt and advocate principled and ethical approaches to machine learning in particular. And then on the sort of flip side, on the leadership side, right, this is a team sport. So how do we organize and manage our projects, and how do we manage our teams in an effective way? In terms of the data engineering goal, it's about using cutting edge and community tested software, open source software primarily. We don't block any proprietary software, but generally in this course we focus on open source software, so Python and R, TensorFlow, PyTorch, all the tools that go with them. And how can we understand how to better use it, and then how can we implement best practices to produce high quality data products? And for me, for software engineering, it's about safety, right? How do we consider how we build the data products that we influence through our machine learning techniques? How can we make those things robust and effective? From the machine learning side, interpretation, tuning, and evaluation of predictive models, I think, is the area that is sort of least covered in the sort of novice and junior courses, right? Most of the time, when you are approached with a new machine learning algorithm, you are taught the architecture, you're taught maybe the sort of statistical basis or motivation for what the algorithm does, and you're given a tool that you can sort of fit this model. But when you go into the workforce, and when you want to do this on a project of your own or to solve a problem of your own, the sort of standard defaults that these algorithms and libraries come with are usually not the best thing for you. And so the challenge, or the follow-up to that, is how do we create models? How do we tune them? How do we interpret them? And how do we evaluate them in order to make them more effectively used? And again, I think that sort of falls under this rubric of repeatable and transparent experimentation and the effective use of statistical methods in order to develop that understanding. And we have to go beyond that place of simply describing the models, and really having that deeper understanding of them. And then lastly, once we have that understanding, we have to compose and communicate that understanding to people who don't have that deep technical knowledge to us, illustrate the value and impact of insights that can be derived from data, and lead people to formulating those insights on their own without necessarily being explicitly told them. And I think that the most effective way to do this is to distill your data into rich, interactive, and of course, responsible visual representations. Responsible here because I think that we all have this sense of how you can lie with statistics, lie with visualization. And we don't want to do that. We want to be able to quickly understand huge amounts of data from our visualizations and to use these tools effectively. And because this is the instinctual and most effective way that people have of engaging large amounts of data, we believe that visualization and sort of visual techniques should be one of the top level goals of the certificate program. So to that end, we've structured the certificate as follows. So the advanced certificate is not cohort driven, right? So it's open enrollment, which means that you can take and pick and choose any courses that you would like. And if you complete 7.2 continuing education units in a 2-year period, you will get the certificate. And so, there's this sort of breakdown, that's about 0.9 continuing education units for each, primary goal or main learning objective in the advanced certificate program. So, I mean, hopefully this is appealing to you guys. What we wanted to do is we wanted to create a certificate that was complete, that had well-rounded topics across all of these different requirements that we have as professional data scientists, but also the flexibility to work these programs and courses into our schedule and to target exactly the topics that you need for your work. And then from our side, from the instructor side, this also means that the certificate is adaptable, right? We can adjust the content in order to cover timely topics and to target new and relevant techniques. So we might be talking about object detection with YOLO, during one semester, but then something new might come out, and then we can sort of switch our conversation over to talk about the new library method. And so hopefully it continues to be relevant to your careers. And one of the ways that we do that is by offering 2 distinct learning formats. So the traditional learning format, of course, are courses. So courses are going to be between 0.6 and 1.8 continuing education units. So basically on Saturdays, so a course that's a single Saturday is 0.6 continuing education units, 2 Saturdays is 1.2, and then if you have like a Friday, Saturday, that's the 1.8. So that's our standard course offerings. So, this is sort of the traditional way that you can engage in this content, but we also have this novel way that you can engage in this content, and that is seminars, which are these symposia-like opportunities that you will actually get credit for, right? They're 0.3 CEUs, but they allow us to really bring advanced and timely and new topics to the data science community and to the Georgetown learning community. So hopefully the next slide, it's about seminars. Oh, good. So I am really excited about seminars, just because I haven't seen anything like this outside of academia. And they are critical to drive academic research and academic thought, but I think that they are also critical to drive the sort of professional thought and sort of professional networking and sort of group dynamics. And I think that they fall in this interesting place between a meetup and a conference, right? Which is where you might also experience something similar to a seminar. Meetups tend to be informal, and you can learn a lot from meetups. And I certainly recommend that everyone attends meetups, but and the networking is also very good. But because they are delivered on a volunteer basis, their sort of quality can be very variable. On the other hand, when you go to a conference, right, conferences are usually very well organized and very coordinated. But when you're going to a conference, you're talking about taking time out of your schedule to travel and do these sorts of things. So seminars, we're hoping, fit into this very nice sweet spot because they are 3 hours in the evenings or during the weekends. And they cost a little bit of money, right? So we use that money in order to give them that sort of higher quality than just a meetup. But they are really an opportunity for you to really explore and dive in deep to a timely topic, or something that is really critical to thinking about right now. And so these seminars usually have an hour of a lecture led by an expert, and then afterwards that hour there's going to be a sort of ask me anything or some collaborative discussion environment where you can participate in thinking about these topics. And I think that that's a really great opportunity. And then another hour at the end for networking and sort of other types of discussions. So we are excited to get the seminar series kicked off on topics such as art, music, fairness, self-driving vehicles, climate change, what's happening with recommender systems or algorithmic dating, voting, right? Whatever is timely and also potentially driven by students in the certificate program who are proposing ideas. If we can bring experts in to discuss these things, we will absolutely do that. So with all of that, I can talk about some of the specific courses that we're thinking about now. This list will likely change, right? So this is our initial offering. So we want this to be adaptable. Some of these courses will be fixtures. So for example, Intro to AI and Deep Learning covers how to use TensorFlow effectively and how to create and fit and evaluate a bunch of different deep learning network architectures for deep learning, from LSTMs to autoencoder decoders to generative adversarial networks. So this is an applied course that I think will just be a fixture throughout the advanced certificate. But then you can dive into more specific topics such as natural language understanding, image classification, object detection, time series analyses and databases, data lakes, Altair and D3. So you can see there's a lot of different topics and hopefully a lot of different things that are interesting to you. And then I have the dates over here on the side for when these courses will likely be offered next. There are also some fairly interesting ones. I just want to highlight this machine learning creativity. If you're interested in AI generated or AI composed music or AI generated artwork, and you want to explore that, the machine learning creativity is a one-day workshop that goes through CocoaNet and Magenta for music composition, and then using convolutional neural networks for image generation. So a lot of different things. And then the advanced data science certificate, like the data science certificate, is a learning opportunity that will also help you engage with the community of knowledge that exists in D3. So hopefully you guys are participating in Data Community DC or District Data Labs. There's a lot of different opportunities to interact with and work with professional data scientists in our area. And hopefully also outside of our area as well, and to connect with that network, which I think is also critically important to folks who are pursuing this more professional and advanced certificate program. So that, in a nutshell, is the Advanced Data Science Certificate, and then I can turn it back over to Julia to discuss, what's going to be happening this fall at Georgetown.
Sure, thank you, Ben. All right, everyone. So something that's happening this fall at Georgetown is we are remaining virtual for the entire fall semester through the end of December 2020. So for this, we have a couple options for many of our different programs and classes. You'll either have an online section, which is the traditional asynchronous online, or flex learning. The Advanced Data Science Certificate will be held in this new flex learning format. Flex learning is this new title that we're using to differentiate between the classes that were in person and now are being moved to online from the traditional online classes that were online to begin with before the COVID-19 pandemic. So anything that is currently flex learning will be instead a live synchronous Zoom session. You'll still log on at the same time you would attend class, same times, same dates, just from your home rather than battling DC traffic and going to our building in downtown DC. This will just deliver the same course objectives, the curriculum will be the same, times and dates will be the same, tuition will be the same. Everything is unchanged except for the delivery format. And we can go over that as well in a little bit if you have any questions. The pacing will be exactly the same as it would be if you were in class. So because it's live, you'll be able to see the rest of your cohort. You'll be able to raise your hand in the Zoom session and be called on. The instructor can break you out into breakout groups where you can be with about 3 to 4 other people and then quote unquote call you back to the main classroom. So you still get that face-to-face networking that a lot of people want in a classroom from Georgetown. It's just we're trying to keep everybody safe at home while we're battling the pandemic in downtown DC. So you'll still get the networking that you would have otherwise if we were back in person. We're still waiting to hear how the spring will go, but for right now, everything through the fall of 2020 will be held virtually. Other things that I would like to go over before we open it up for questions is the tuition and funding options. So for these classes for advanced data science, they are open enrollment, meaning you don't have to apply, but we do want to set you up for success. So these are made for professional and senior level people. For these classes, if you are doing a payment plan, which is our most popular option, it is interest free. You pay 25% down payment of whatever is in your shopping cart at the time. And then every 30 days thereafter, you'll pay another 25% until it's paid off. We can also do private student loans. There is an alumni discount if you've taken any certificates or degree programs through any Georgetown school, including the law school, the med school, anything. And we also have an OPM discount of 10% for federal government employees. Just note that these discounts are not stackable, so you can only choose one of the two options. You cannot do 10% and then another 10%. That's all I have for the tuition and funding. Enrollment is also open enrollment, so you can sign up for any class so long as it is still open. There is still room and it has not started yet. And all the classes should be open for enrollment right now. There is a little questions box where people can post their questions. We'll leave it open for a few minutes if anyone has any questions they would like to ask either myself or Ben, and I'll post them to the whole webinar so we can keep it in the recording and let everyone know what the question was as well. So we'll keep it open for just a few minutes, see if there's any large questions. And actually, while we wait, Ben, do you have any other things you would like to clarify or touch upon that you can think of off the top of your head?
It's muted. I guess I could add my sort of own comments about flex learning, which the data science certificate has been doing, through the spring and this summer. The data science faculty, who also teaches the advanced data science certificate, have been working very hard to make sure that the experience over Zoom is better than potentially you might get in a classroom experience. And we found that there's ways to effectively collaborate on capstone projects and work, and we use GitHub to share code and share screens and breakout rooms and things like that. And so I think that it has been a very effective learning experience. So if that was anyone's concern, just based on my experience of it, it's been very positive.
Very good. Ooh, we have a question, and looks like it'll be for you, Ben. Laura asks, do you have to know Python and other programming? Do you have to know Python and other programming languages for the certificate programs?
So for the advanced data science certificate, each course has prerequisites. A lot of our focus right now is in Python libraries like TensorFlow and PyTorch. We might be shifting that over to R or some other programming languages. I will say that potentially it's not necessary to know Python for the advanced certificate course. You might be able to follow along and work through the workshops. You won't be able to sort of execute the workshops without Python expertise, but you could probably get a lot out of it without Python experience. So it just depends on how much you want to sort of do during the class, right? The advanced data science certificate is about sort of teaching these tools and understanding them, and there are workshops. For the data science certificate, though, Python programming is a prerequisite and a requirement, some novice ability in Python. If you're unfamiliar with Python, we do offer a Python Basics for Data Analytics course. And I think that that's a great way to get started learning Python and sort of getting into the content.
Thank you, Ben. I have another question from David. For the advanced data science certificate, he sees that there are prerequisites. Is someone able to take the courses without meeting those prerequisites if they already have a base level knowledge through work or personal projects?
Yes, absolutely. The prerequisites are in the advanced certificate are designed to give you a sense of expectation. You know, we just don't want people to come in and be completely lost, and so we're trying to, you know, communicate, you know, what might be involved in the course, or what the sort of base level assumptions are for the instructor and the students. There is no application to the advanced certificate, and you can enroll in these courses at any time. So there's no, like, we don't check, and the enrollment team doesn't check those that you have those prerequisites in order to take the course.
To elaborate on that, yes, you're absolutely correct. We don't need transcripts or proof of knowledge of these things. It's all open enrollment. It's made to be set up for your success. So if you feel you are able to do them, we trust you. It's an honor-based system. You can do one class one at a time. You can sign up for all of them at the same time. You can even just take some of the seminars if you are interested without taking the entire program. Just know that you do have to complete that requisite number of CEUs to earn the certificate if you want the certificate. Leave it open for a few more minutes if anyone else has any burning questions. Oh, here's one. What materials or programs or tools will I need to partake in either of the certificates?
The certificates, and if you want to learn more about the data science certificate, we also have a data science certificate specific webinar that I would encourage you to join as well. The focus right now is Python, and usually the workshops that are in the certificates are Jupyter notebooks. For the deep learning in the certificate, we're using PyTorch and TensorFlow. You know, and just sort of using the libraries from either of those. So those are in Python. You will need a laptop, certainly a laptop with administrative privileges, Python installed, the ability to install third-party tools using pip or conda. And, you know, some of these courses talk about databases. Time series databases would be Prometheus and Influx. The relational database is usually Postgres, maybe MySQL. And so as long as you have the ability to install things on your computer, you should be able to get access to these tools pretty easily. I will say that almost all of the software is open source and free to download. So you shouldn't have to pay for anything. Any software at least, in order to take the certificates. These should all be widely available. They work on Windows, Linux, OS X. So, you know, it's just sort of the computational type requirements. Hopefully that answers the question.
Excellent. Thank you, Ben. It looks like this might be the last big question we have. David asks, does Georgetown have any networks for those to take classes or to get a certificate to communicate with students or the instructor afterwards? If not to communicate with students or instructor, at least to stay connected with the community. That's a very, very good question. I have access to a list of student ambassadors. So anyone who has completed a certificate program and then offers up their contact information to talk to prospective students that might have questions. So there's that. For any formalized or official office that we have, we don't have anything formal in terms of career services or an alumni network specific to the School of Continuing Studies. Anything about that would be informal and usually is done through the students. For instance, the Institute for Transformational Leadership, which is another school within Georgetown School of Continuing Studies. They made their own network. It is their own little website. It's kind of a combination of Facebook and LinkedIn, and it's dues-based. They created that just for themselves. It's not overseen by Georgetown. So there are networking opportunities that you can build within your cohort or within your field and classroom that you have at Georgetown, but we don't have anything formal, unfortunately. Ben, do you know of anything formal or a little more official than what I just described?
Yeah, so data science certificate students have a number of ways to communicate and collaborate. So the data science certificate has a Google Groups listserv, so they can sort of email and communicate using the listserv. We are discussing setting up a Slack channel for the advanced data science certificate, and I think that that's likely to happen. And then, you know, GitHub also turns out to be a pretty effective way to communicate. with each other. And then the certificate programs tie into Data Community DC, which hosts several meetups every month. And so you'll be able to probably meet a lot of instructors and students at the Data Community DC meetups, either giving talks or attending. And then district data labs might also host research labs or open source software development, you know, semesters. And so there's a lot of ways to connect with folks who are sort of thinking about these topics and are interested in these topics. And I think also a lot of different ways to connect after the certificate program or during it.
Wonderful. He says, thank you. Perfect. I think that's all the questions that we have for today. If anyone has any other burning questions about this, you can email us at pdcprograms@georgetown.edu. We're available Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. We'll be leaving on Fridays a little earlier, around 2 p.m., but every other day, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And then there's also our phone number here and our physical address if you need to mail us anything. So we're going to end the webinar here. Thank you all so much for joining us and have an excellent rest of your week. You'll all get a recording of the webinar later this week as well.